Well, we're here with Mark Smith again at Swarkestone Nursery, and Mark, looks very colourful here, and a lot of butterflies and nature insects about. Gives us a clue to what we're talking about this month, really.
Well, it's basically trying to show you a few plants that will encourage wildlife into your garden, primarily butterflies, but you know, an added bonus, bees. Everybody wants to encourage bees. It's a good idea to encourage bees into your garden, because for many years a lot of the gardening shows have shown you low maintenance plants, which tend to be evergreen plants, which don't have a lot of flower. And of course, bees and butterflies and a lot of insects, different insects like hoverflies, like lacewings, all like flowers that produce nectar and pollen. So it's just a way of showing you a few plants today that would be great to encourage wildlife into your garden. As you can see, the traditional one is the butterfly bush, the buddleia there, and that's just a mass of butterflies at the moment. Most people tend to plant buddleia in the garden to encourage butterflies in. It works very well, but because buddleia has got a relatively short period of flower, the butterflies have only got a small amount of food to get from that time. So it's always a good idea to try and include a few plants that flower very early in the season, and then some that flower very late into the season, so you've prolonged the time that they can produce food.
It's looking like a butterfly bush, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just, as the common name suggests, that is called butterfly bush because the buddleia is perfect for butterflies to get nectar from. It's just a mass of very tiny flowers, and they send the proboscis down into the flower, and they feed off every single individual flower on the cone. And likewise for these daisies, these leucanthemums that we've got now, bees and butterflies love these. It's ideal. Nice flat flower is ideal for butterflies to land on and collect the nectar from the flower, because they tend to be getting nectar from flowers rather than pollen. But as a byproduct from walking around on top of the flower, they're getting pollen on the legs and the body. So next time when they fly to another flower, it's pollinating that.
Can some plants get damaged if they get the nectar taken out?
No, they produce nectar. It's in the best interest of the plant to produce nectar, to try and encourage wildlife to pollinate again, because it's in their best interest to reproduce, and they can only do that by repollinating. So they do that. They do sweet tasting nectar for wildlife to take from the flower, and it works a treat. This is absolutely covered in bees and butterflies. We've had moths. We've currently got one or two flies in, but that's okay. People say, oh, flies, they're not very nice, but that also encourages dragonflies in, because they're a good predator thing, so they'll eat those flies up. So what we've got here today, like I mentioned, the big leucanthemum, which is very popular with the wildlife that we've got at the moment. Big open flat flowers. This is a plant called potentilla. Comes in various different colours, but the yellow ones tend to be the one that seems to attract the most wildlife. Of course, we've got the gorgeous buddleia at the back with the really dark purple flowers, but that comes in pink, white, blue as well. A lot of people stop planting buddleias because they tend to be a little bit taller growing, but you can get dwarfer growing varieties that will only grow to a foot now, so there's no excuse for you not to have a buddleia in your garden. You can have it in a container or in the border, but there are dwarfer growing ones. Another one here, very vibrant, bright red. This is Crocosmia lucifer, another great one for butterflies and bees. But as you can see, it's quite a tall one, so it needs to be at the back of a border. But in amongst dark coloured foliage, the flowers stand out absolutely gorgeous.
That does look really colourful.
Really nice. This is penstemon, which is a very popular plant. This is mainly for bees, though. They can actually get in there, they can get all snug, and they actually cover their body. They have to get right down at the back of the flower to get the nectar, and as a consequence they get loads of pollen all over the body. So it's a good one for bees, this one. This is another daisy type plant, because it tends to be the daisy type open flowers that attracts them more. This is a variety of Rudbeckia. Now Rudbeckia comes in various different sizes. This is a dwarf one, nice and manageable. Anybody can have this in the garden. This is a one called Russian sage, which is Perovskia, and because of the long flower spikes, it attracts bees and it attracts butterflies as well. Silver foliage, another tall growing plant, very attractive plant, because obviously the other appeal of having all these flowering plants, and it makes your garden look particularly nice as well. And this is a really attractive plant, flowers for such a long time. And all of these that I'm showing you now are obviously in flower now.
Yes.
So they look good now, and but you really need to pick early flowering varieties from early or late February right the way to end of October, November. The ones that flower very late in the season, sort of end of October, November, are things like sedums, which are an evergreen plant with really big pink flowers, and they're an absolute cracker for bees and butterflies. So it's well worth including a few of those to prolong the season that butterflies can get food.
So why is it good to get nature in the garden?
Well, a number of things. I mean, the original thing is to pollinate obviously other flowers, but they're great to encourage a few flowers into vegetable crops or fruit crops.
Right.
You need to pollinate fruit to get it to fruit, you know, like apples and pears. It's always good to try and encourage. I mean, a lot of people tend to plant lavender around the base of apple trees to encourage bees in, to then encourage to pollinate the flowers of apple. So right. It's a great idea. But I personally love to watch butterflies. Very relaxing. It's like another dimension to your garden. Just sitting there, you're seeing butterflies flutter about. Very relaxing, and I think it's a really important thing to have in the garden, not only from a conservation point of view, but from a relaxing point of view as well.
And you do get some beautiful coloured butterflies, very rare colours, like the red there.
Yeah, we've got the peacocks.
Colour. Yeah?
They're the peacocks. We've had red admirals. We've got the cabbage whites there, which a lot of people don't like because they eat the vegetables, but they're a beautiful thing in their own right. We've had dragonflies. We've had the common blues, which are like a blue bottle colour. Absolutely gorgeous. And only this morning I saw a bright yellow butterfly, which I'm not sure of the variety name, but it's just nice seeing all this mix of different varieties of butterflies coming in. You can only get that if you plant a good range of different flowers. Different flowers do attract different species, so it's great to get a good mix.
Okay, what other sort of plants have you got?
Yeah, another good one for bees and butterflies is this Astrantia, which is just coming into flower now. It's like a star-shaped flower. Little clusters in the very centre of the flower is the one that attracts the bees and the butterflies. But because this is a later flowering one, the butterflies have got something to feed on later on in the year. Very attractive, very fashionable. Very fashionable plant to have in the garden. It appears in a lot of the flower gardens in shows and things like that. Again, another bright yellow, red one is the lobelia.
That went well, Mark.
That went very well. The lobelia, which is a really striking bright red against the dark red foliage. Just unfortunately broke that one, so I will just leave that propped up there. And then another smaller growing one is this new variety of Agapanthus. Now you're going to point out to me that's finished flowering, but if you can see, once these are finished, a new flower starts to emerge. So this will flower right the way till the end of September, October time. Okay. Those are finished. You just nip those off. But this is a new variety of Agapanthus, because Agapanthus tend to be quite tall growing. But this is a dwarf one, and it's quite unique because of the variegated foliage, because it tends to be plain green foliage. Great in a pot, great in a smallish border. But all of those plants now look good now, ideal for attracting butterflies and bees. into the garden.
So we've moved over to plant of the month. Now, is it we on the same theme here, Mark, to attract wildlife?
Yeah, it was the reason I picked this one out this month in particular, because it's great for bees and butterflies. It's a personal favourite of mine, and a very, very popular one that people do tend to pick. This is Verbena bonariensis.
I'm glad you said that, as usual.
Yeah, people do themselves an injury trying to pronounce that. But yeah, Verbena bonariensis. It's great for bees, as you can see, and butterflies. Quite a tall growing perennial, so it needs to be at the back of a border. Likes full sun, likes it really, really well drained. But if this is a little bit too tall for most people, quite sprawly, there is another variety called Verbena rigida, which is only gets to about a foot tall and a foot wide. Okay. Much deeper purple flowers, but again attracts bees and butterflies just exactly the same. But this one is a personal favourite of mine, and the amount of flowers that you get on it means that you get a lot of bees and butterflies.
So it's a recommendation for the garden?
Recommendation. This is plant of the month for September.
So we've moved over to lavender.
Yeah.
Now, Mark. They've got all colourful. Theme of the show, nature.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of bees, plenty of butterflies. This is a recommendation for people, isn't it?
Few ladybirds whizzing through the flowers as well. Yeah, this is a very good plant to encourage, probably the plant to encourage wild life into the garden. So yeah, good plant to have.
And what jobs have we got for September?
Well, the jobs for September are, a lot of people don't really think about it in September. There's other things to think about, but you really need to get your act together in planting spring flowering bulbs, right. Strangely enough. But I've got a selection here with me. These are all bee friendly, believe it or not, because if you've got plants there to encourage bees, and it's warm enough, bees will take pollen from these flowers, and if they've got a source of food, they'll take it. So it's well worth trying to encourage bees quite early on into the season of the garden. We've got crocus here. Now this is an unusual. This is actually an autumn flowering crocus, and this is the saffron crocus where you get saffron from. So you get quite a bit of money from saffron. But also we've got snowdrops, obviously a good spring flowering attractive plant. Now, and also we've got another crocus, an autumn flowering crocus, water lily, unusual looking crocus that is. But when you're picking bulbs, these are in pre-packed bulbs. You can get them loose, you can get them in pre-packs. A little tip is when you've got them, you don't know how they look dead from when you're looking at them. They just look completely dead. Just give them a quick squeeze of the bulb, and if they're nice and firm, perfect. If they give a little bit or they're very soft, stay away from them. But most bulbs, if you pick them in September, they will be still of good quality and nice and firm. If you leave them too late on the season, they start to go soft. Right. And then we've got the traditional ones here, tulips and daffodils. They really give you a good sense of spring's on its way and summer's on its way again when you've got these flowering in your garden. Multiple bulbs. Always plant them in a clump. Don't spread them out. You get a better effect if you plant them in a clump, but so long as the bulbs aren't touching when you plant them in a hole. They're going most soils apart from heavy clay. If it is a bit clay, just add a bit of sand or grit. But you really must, in September, start to think about spring. I know it seems a long way away, but it's all about preparation gardening and thinking about what to do next year. Also, while the weather's so good and it's so bright and it's so sunny and nice and dry, another tip is spike your lawn and put sand or sulphate of iron into the lawn, because if it was very, very wet like this time last year, you wouldn't be able to do that, and that prevents moss and algae and problems with your lawn. So if you can get it spiked now, adding sand to the lawn and sulphate of iron, that gives you a better lawn for next spring if we do have a wet winter.
And if people would like to get in touch with you in the future, how do they go about it?
Well, they can contact us in the normal way by telephone, which is Derby 01332 700 800. They can contact us by email, which is info@Swarkestone, remembering the in Swarkestone, swarkestone.nursery.co.uk, and we've got a website which is www.gardencenterderby.co.uk. That's an easy one to remember.
Yep.
And also we're actually on Facebook as well. If you put in the search bar Swarkestone Nursery, again remembering the E in Swarkestone, then you can find us that way, and either like our page or drop us a comment.
The power of technology. Any teasers for October?
Well, we're moving into autumn now, so I think we'll probably do an autumn basket or tub demonstration.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark.